The night was quiet except for the soft hum of the ceiling fan as a weary father tiptoed into his daughter's room. His eyes carried the weight of long hours spent at 2 different jobs, yet they softened instantly as he pulled the blanket over her small shoulders. She clutched a worn-out teddy bear, unaware of how hard her father fought each day to keep her world safe and warm. Once she drifted into sleep, he lingered for a moment, brushing a strand of hair from her face, his heart torn between love and exhaustion. Outside her door, reality pressed in like a heavy shadow. The house that once felt like a blessing now seemed far too large for just the 2 of them. Every corner whispered of bills piling up, every creak reminded him of repairs he couldn't afford. He opened a stack of envelopes on the kitchen table, rent overdue, utilities threatening shutoff, reminders that his paychecks barely stretched far enough. He sat in silence, his head in his hands, searching for answers that refused to come. Then, with quiet resolve, he stood and pulled a piece of cardboard from the drawer. Grabbing a marker, he wrote in large uneven letters, "Room for rent." It wasn't an easy choice, inviting a stranger into his home, but it was the only option left to keep his little girl safe under this roof. As he placed the sign outside, the cool night air brushed his face, and for the first time in weeks, he felt a flicker of hope. The next afternoon, just as the father was fixing a loose cabinet handle, there was a gentle knock on the door. He opened it to find a young woman standing on the porch, clutching a small suitcase. She looked simple, dressed in plain jeans and a sweater, her expression shy but hopeful. "I saw your sign," she said softly, "I'm looking for a room. Is it still available?" The father studied her for a moment. She didn't look like the kind of tenant who could afford much, but something in her eyes, kindness, maybe even a quiet sadness, made him nod without hesitation. He invited her in, showing her the modest guest room, its walls chipped and the furniture mismatched but clean. She smiled warmly, as though it were the most welcoming place she had ever seen. They settled on a fair rent, and she thanked him earnestly, saying, "I just need a safe place while I study." He didn't ask questions, he was too grateful someone had answered the sign so quickly. What he didn't know, what he couldn't possibly imagine, was that behind her simple clothes and humble manner, she was the daughter of a wealthy millionaire. She had chosen to step away from her luxurious world for a while, searching for something money couldn't buy. To the father, she was just a tenant who could help ease the weight of bills. To her, this small home already felt like a place where she might finally belong. Days slowly turned into weeks, and the house began to feel different. The young woman blended into their lives with a gentleness that surprised the father. She often sat at the kitchen table helping his little girl with homework, patiently explaining math problems or listening to stories from school. Laughter, once rare in the house, started echoing through the rooms again, carried by the giggles of a child and the warmth of their new tenant's voice. She noticed things the father thought went unseen, the way he skipped meals, pretending he wasn't hungry so his daughter could have more, or how he mended her old toys with glue and tape instead of buying new ones. Every sacrifice he made wasn't spoken about, but it was felt deeply, a quiet testament to the love of a father who gave everything without complaint. One evening, she offered to cook dinner, and when the father returned home from work, exhausted and worn, the smell of home-cooked food filled the air. His daughter beamed, telling him how their new friend had made everything. For a brief moment, he allowed himself to relax, smiling as he watched them laugh together at the table. The girl, who had grown up in a mansion filled with silence and distant parents, found something here she had never known before, a family bound not by wealth but by love and selflessness. And with every passing day, she felt her heart quietly changing, drawn to the richness of their humble world. One late evening, the father sat at the edge of his worn couch, staring at his hands. His car had broken down earlier that day on his way to work, and the mechanic's estimate had left him shaken. Without the car, he risked losing one of his jobs. Without the job, the roof over their heads might not last much longer. He tried to smile when his daughter asked if everything was okay, but the heaviness in his eyes betrayed the truth. The young woman had seen enough. She quietly slipped into her room and made a phone call, her voice soft but firm. She had the means to fix everything, yet she knew revealing her secret too soon might push him away. Still, she couldn't stand by while this man who gave everything for his little girl suffered in silence. The next morning, the father stepped outside and froze. Parked in his driveway was a shiny, new car with the keys resting on the hood, along with an envelope thick with money, enough to cover his debts and bills. His chest tightened as he picked it up, realizing what it meant. But instead of joy, tears stung his eyes. He shook his head, whispering to himself, "No, this isn't how I live. I don't need riches. I just need honesty, love, and a chance to work for my family." When he turned back, the young woman stood there, her eyes glistening. With a trembling breath, she finally spoke the truth, "I need to tell you who I really am." The room went still as her words hung in the air. She explained that she wasn't just another college girl struggling to make ends meet, she was the daughter of a millionaire, raised in a world where money solved every problem but never filled the emptiness in her heart. For the first time, she admitted how lonely her life had been, how her parents were always too busy, and how she longed for the warmth of a home like his. The father stood silent, shocked, but she continued, her voice breaking, "I didn't come here for comfort or luxury. I came here because this place, your love for your daughter, it gave me something money never could." He didn't know what to say, but his little girl ran over and wrapped her arms around their guest, whispering, "Your family now." That simple word broke whatever wall was left between them. Soon after, the young woman convinced her father, the millionaire, to quietly help the man who had unknowingly given her the most priceless gift, a true home. Scholarships opened for his daughter's future, bills disappeared, and opportunities he never dreamed of slowly came his way. Yet the support never felt like charity, because the bond between them was genuine. One evening, the three of them sat together at dinner, laughter spilling through the small house. The millionaire's daughter looked around the table, realizing she had found her place. And the father, once burdened by struggle, finally felt light, proof that the richest homes are built not by wealth, but by love.